We will start off with a roll call. Andy?
Mr. Silk.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Burzes. Here. Mr. San Francisco.
Here. Notably absent is Mr. Graskell. So you kind of want to talk through, if we do have a 2-2 vote, what the next step is for any applicant that encounters that.
Well, I think from the perspective, we do have a quorum this evening, and any applicant who would choose to continue the case, because we don't have a full complement of 5 zoning board officers this evening, can make an application for a continuance. The board will consider and vote on the continuance. If you're willing to go forward with the prospect of only having 4 members of the board, that is your option to do so. In the event of a tie vote, that would be deemed a denial. So if anybody who is an applicant this evening wants to come forward, make an application for a continuance, I believe the board would entertain that. Otherwise, we'll go forth with the agenda.
Okay. All right, so let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance here. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we move to approve the agenda, just kind of some ground rules that we like to talk about before all the meetings. For tonight, we are going to go in order of the publicly posted agenda. We're not going to make any adjustments there. But the applicant will be given their full opportunity to make their case. The board, at their discretion, can inject for questions, and there'll be a dialogue back and forth between the board members and the applicant. When we're satisfied and when the applicant's satisfied with the testimony presented up to that point, then we're going to ask for any party protestants. Correction, we're going to ask party protestants to identify themselves before the testimony, but they will not be given an opportunity to speak until after the applicant has finished his or her testimony. All right, so a party protestant is someone who has legal standing in the case. They live within a certain boundary, and I always forget the distance. I think it's 200 feet of the subject property. They have legal standing, so they can appeal if they'd like to the next higher up level, and they have reasonable effect. By what's the terminology?
Well, they're entitled to cross-examination of witnesses. They also can provide their own independent evidence contrary to the application if they so choose. And they would be a party as municipality is statutorily a party if they so wish to be so. And they would participate in that regard.
Great. Okay. After the party protestants have had their opportunity to cross-examine the applicant and communicate with us, if it's the board's decision to close the record, then we'll do so, and then we'll open it up to public comment. So public comment, you're addressing the board at that point. That's before we make a decision on the case. So the intent there is to try to get your input in to us, who are ultimately going to make the decision on the case. You're not addressing the applicant. Fair enough? Okay. So with all of that said, do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we will move on and start with case Z 2021-19, which is a continuance from last month. Raquelle Amour of 103 Tanglewood Lane in Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property. The owner is seeking a variance from section 172-104A to allow a fence beyond the frontmost portion of the dwelling unit. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the zoning ordinance that may be realized during the hearing process. Subject premises is located in the R2 zoning district. So we have the applicant here.
Yes.
Are you Miss Amour
Yes.
and your counsel?
Yes, sure. Yes,
Okay.
Mr. President, my name is Russell Manning with the law offices of Karen Ann Ulmer, and I am representing Ms. Amour in her variance.
Thanks for coming. You want to swear him in, Tom?
Yes, I do.
Is the file in order? Nothing changed or nothing was added to it?
Nothing was added.
Okay.
File is in order.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask counsel, you are new to these proceedings. There was counsel last month. Megan Fleming, is she from your office?
She's from my office. I have a copy of my business card for you.
So,
Ms. Fleming was an associate in my firm. She has since left this firm, and I'm
okay,
taking.
I just wanted the record to be clear in terms of counsel.
Okay, thanks. Have a seat. And why don't you tell us what's happened since Ms. Fleming was here last month?
Well, Mr. President, my understanding is that there was some questions about how big it was, what the material was going to be made of, and how long the work was going to take. We can say that it's a standard pine fence rail, an extension of an existing fence. I have brought some satellite.
Yeah.
Brought some satellite photos of the property. You can see this is the back, what is now considered the front yard. Okay. This is her deck that goes into the back of her property right here. You can see this line, white line here off to what would be your left of the picture, right there. Basically, this is the existing fence. This existing fence is going to be extended down in a straight line from its end and then curve around to meet the back of the existing deck. Okay, the property, it is all completely shrouded from the main road, from the roads with existing foliage. There is a slope on the property, so even if you're standing at the bottom of her driveway, it would be difficult to see this extended fence.
297.
Now, the property is 300, the road is 397 feet from the fence line.
From the proposed or current?
From the proposed. And if you'll notice in these pictures, this is a picture taken from the road. If you could see right there.
Yep.
That is one of the posts that was already put into the ground prior to the cease and desist.
Okay, right there.
No, it's actually
Back
right
here.
there.
Got it.
Okay, and it's right there. There, so you can barely see it. That is pretty much the only part of this fence line that would be able to be seen. I think the hardship that it's a de minimis variance of itself, but I believe the hardship would be that this is an old house. This is a house that was built in the 1700s. The front of the historic front of the house has become the back of the house, and the historic back of the house has become the front of the house based off of the development that was done on Tanglewood Road. I think without that, we wouldn't even be here. So I think at this point, this is a de minimis. And to the question of how long the work will take, I believe
1 day.
1 day.
It's already almost.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we've already put the fence posts are already in. It's just a matter of putting up the actual fence itself. I believe, I think our contractor said 2 hours.
Three.
2-3 hours to finish the work. So there wouldn't be there's no major construction. It's just a, contractor with a truck nailing fencing to the posts that have been placed. So at this point, we would ask that the board grant the variance request.
And the only reason that I wanted to do that is I have 3 Great Danes, and my male is 253 pounds. One of my girls is 208, and the other one is 210. I'm only like 210, 212. I mean, 110, 112. And I decided to do that just to extend it a little bit, so they have little grass to go on.
Here's another, this is what the existing, to give you a better idea, okay? So you can see the existing fence line is this portion right here. This is the existing deck off to here. These are the posts that were put in when she started the work. It's basically just extending, same type of fencing, extending this fencing and going around. Okay, and again, it's for the, basically a place for her dogs to go. She has this little fenced area, that's where you can see the sign that says Great Dane Place, that's where she lets her dogs out. They're big dogs, so she wants to expand the area that she's allowing them to run around in while still keeping. Questions of the board?
Do you guys have questions before we open it up to the party protestant?
Is the current fence painted or is that a natural?
I'm so sorry?
Is the current fence painted or is that, I can't tell by the picture, is that a
It's
natural?
white, it's painted. It matches the rest of the pool deck, the kitchen deck.
So it is, the existing is white
It's white,
and the new one will be white?
white. We have about for an hour to finish it because I was already in a process until I was stopped to do it. And then he said about an hour and a half to just spray it so it matches the rest of the decks and the property.
So I know this was continued because other applications and other things that were happening on the property before. We were told by neighbors that things didn't get done. We wanted you to work with the neighbors
And it
and
was
things like
done.
that. So
But we're,
The neighbors never, my
Sorry.
understanding is that the neighbors were directed to contact my office. We never received any communications from anybody requesting information on a thing, on anything with the property. There was a storm, I know there was a storm with some deadfall. This Moore cleaned that up the next weekend. She had a landscaper out cleaning that up on the next weekend. I've been out to the property. I understand there was some complaint about the condition of the trees. It's nature. I mean, it's the property, as you can see in this picture, there's a lot of, it's growth. It's normal growth from the property. That's not, it's not something that was planned. or anything
and I
like
think the
that.
neighbors were, and you answered it with the tree limbs down and there was a lot of debris from previous either projects or storms.
Mhm.
And I know, Andy, you said you've been out also with some issues. So that's why we kind of continued it to say, let's get the other projects done. And I know you said it'll take a week, but
a
A
day.
day to finish the fencing.
that was another one of the neighbors' concerns is projects get started and then,
This one will take a day. The only other thing, like I said, I've been to the property. The only other thing is she's planting trees.
Okay.
Other than that,
I also live in Miami, so I've been going back and forth the best I can, especially with COVID in the last 2 years. But yeah, so look, so my property is so large that if there is a break-in and a branch, which my trees are so big, it's big, but
like I said, we did have a landscaper out cleaning up the property, cleaning up debris and groundfall from previous storms the weekend after the last week.
and I've also would like to say, I have a very good relationship with my neighbors, except for two, and they're here tonight.
I kind of just want to just pause there and sit there for a minute. This board is not in the business of relationship management.
Thank you.
I don't care if you have, okay? And that goes to the party protestants as well. This is a legal, quasi-legal hearing.
I
And
just said that because you said my neighbors and my neighbors.
yes, well, your neighbors have legal standing in this case as party protestants. So I'm gonna, in a moment, call them up to the table and they're gonna be able to cross-examine you and address the board. But when it comes to relationships,
Thank you.
don't care, okay? So with that being said, I recognize a couple of party protestants If you'd like, you can sit at the table opposite the applicant. Reintroduce yourselves, if you would, for the record, and kind of go from there.
Hello, my name is Bill Ryder. I'm the president of the Tanglewood Condo Association. I was here last time. REITER.
Hi, I'm Tara Miller, and I live, Tara, Tara Miller, and I live at 110 Tanglewood Lane in the townhomes.
And Mr. Spinato, you weren't here last time.
I was here, I didn't get a chance.
Okay, so would you like to be identified on record as a party protesting? Okay, so you have legal standing. This is not public comment. All right, so given what I just said about relationship management, what is your legal standing here that you would like to see?
We have had,
Yeah, I mean, yes, especially since we have a new.
Say it again? Oh, sure.
Yes.
I've got a couple more pictures that show branches, trees, shrubbery from her property coming onto our property. I've got the, another copy of the picture from last time, which shows a downed tree, which we had to remove. Her tree, our property, we removed it. And we're very concerned about the upkeep of the border between her property and ours. And I don't know, can I bring these up?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to label these, Tom, and then just hand them to you. All right.
This is one from the last time.
Right, we saw that last night, right?
And these are a little difficult to tell. That's our tree. This whole area, we need to replant with trees, but it's overgrown from her side. This is just another view of different.
Can I ask a quick question? Does the proposed fence line have anything does the proposed fence line have anything to do with the property line that comes on the backside of her property where
I'm not
along
even
the,
sure where the fence is supposed to go.
well, she has, yeah, so this is here, if you're looking up the driveway kind of, I think if I know the street correctly, the driveway comes down this way, so the fence would be up here and then back in towards this part of the house. And I think if I remember correctly, you folks are up here, right? And then back on this side, is that right?
Yeah, the fence is on
Right.
the
If I may,
I
side of
believe
the.
we're-
Right, and so what I'm asking is this fence that
You can
they're
come up, Tom.
proposing right here.
And no disrespect to board members, if I could. So this is where we are talking,
Yeah.
okay? We're putting here.
Right.
They're over here on the opposite side of the property.
Right.
And I would actually object to their standing as party opponents because what they're complaining about has absolutely nothing to do with this variance and would not be, and our work here would not impact this issue. If this is an issue that they have with her, then they should bring that up with her either through legal counsel or as a complaint, separate complaint to the local planning board or planning office and have them come out and cite her if what she's doing violates any of the municipal ordinances.
We also object to.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
I acknowledge the objection. I'm going to let them continue as party
Okay.
protesting.
So just on that, let me just finish my thought process there. Does the proposed fence impact anything along the property line from where your property is? Based on the map, it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's on the other side of the house.
Well, not actually. So this part where it comes around front, there is shrubbery here, but this is our driveway. Right here's our driveway.
Right.
And there's a lot of trees in between her home and our driveway, but
Does
you
the
know,
HOA on the driveway or is that a
Yeah.
public street?
That's ours.
yes. And so then Tanglewood is here. So it would be along Tanglewood in our driveway. The trees cover it now somewhat, but 5 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year, the foliage is down and you can see everything. And the pictures I brought here for existing fence, and It's concerning to me, you know, the current appearance of what she's calling her pool deck, which is just a deck, not, there's no pool, with these, some sort of privacy fence here. It doesn't really, it's not consistent, of course, with anything in the neighborhood today. I do think it does diminish our property value, as well as an area that she had created over here through the woods, and then had set up like a circle area with tree stumps there, which we can see from our driveway. So this part of the year, we'll definitely be able to see the portion of this fence.
And the other thing we object to is giving her free reign after this. If she has no restrictions on what she can do with it.
That was my question. What is the second part of?
Variance.
Yeah.
We can put very
could.
tight restrictions on type of fence, the size of the fence, the height of the fence.
And anything that requires a variance is separate, that's separate application. So regardless of what happens here, any other, work on the property that is not within current code and ordinance would need a variance in order to
For special use.
proceed.
Yeah.
Special or special exception.
No free reign to.
This is only
whatever
for the
you want now.
proposed fence that she's putting in.
Which
To get rid of all the other restrictions that she's.
Pertaining to the fence, if something were to come up with this fence that, that would also require a variance or something else, other special exception, we can address that in the same application, but it doesn't give every other application she possibly could.
And again, the reason why we continued this was because there was other things on the property that were said by a variance or something in the past that wasn't completed. And it sounds like you're saying property was cleaned up, the
I
branches.
mean, there was no previous work under variance that wasn't completed. She had received a previous variance to add a two-story deck on this side of the
Right.
property. That's completed.
Okay.
That's the only other variance that's been on the property.
Wasn't there a part of that variance that called for her to put some trees in?
We don't know
Yes,
that.
I did.
And the trees were put in.
$8,500 in 2010.
There is if you were to, let me see. There is a line of arborvitae plantings between her property adjacent to the double-decker deck and the home and the townhome. So, and they have grown to a sufficient height now that they wouldn't block any view from the double-decker deck into.
I had some concerns that the fence might end up looking something like this, which is facing our property under the back. So that's a concern. Then this is also facing our driveway. This bottom portion of the deck.
Sorry, ma'am, could you point here where your property is in your driveway so that I can,
Now,
because
it's not to scale.
No,
So this
it's-
isn't a very good map at all. And so that's the house. This
this
is
is
our
the house
driveway.
right here. This is the driveway leading up into the town.
That's correct.
And that's the town.
Right, but that's not to scale for sure.
It is.
It is.
It's by map, I mean, their map will tell you exactly how.
Okay, well, I disagree, but our road comes here, and you're talking about putting in a fence over here, which we can see from our driveway.
Cannot, because this is all.
Thank
tree
you.
You
wood.
received the notice
Okay.
though, right? Ma'am?
So
You received a notice of the event tonight, right? One of you guys did, right? So you're here because you're within the boundaries to get a notice. So
this is
that's,
also
think
just an
that's-
example of the shrubbery drops. I mean, it's just a portion of the back of our house. You just see a lot from there. That's all I'm saying. The things that she's done just aren't consistent with the community, and it looks kind of.
I mean, the context you're providing is certainly useful for us as we make a decision. But I'm just thinking like, okay, next step. Where's your legal objection to this fence particularly?
Just the fence.
Okay, without, I mean, granted, we're making this decision as residents, as neighbors. So the context you provide is useful in helping us make that decision. But
So
with this fence in particular, what would you say is what is your chief complaint, your chief concern with this fence specifically?
so we
Is
don't,
it the upkeep?
does she have specific plans from an engineer that show exactly what this fence is going to look like? Because these posts.
Is it like?
Sir, do you want
I mean,
to
it's-
address that?
It's a fence. You're not hiring an engineer to draw site plans.
So what they're asking for is it that split rail fence? Is it the
I think
fence?
this
Is
is
it like
The
the
same
fence?
fence that's existing up.
Perfect.
And that's
Okay,
what we asked last time.
So
They came back with this.
this fence
picture.
right here.
Yes.
That's what she's installing.
We're just extending that using the same kind of fencing.
We can put that in the variance if that's approved, that this is the fence, right? That. Okay.
We can, yeah, I mean, we can stipulate.
Okay.
We can stipulate that.
Those pictures been entered into evidence?
I'm
I
right.
will ask that, I think I turned it in pictures, so I'd ask them to be marked as applicant 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And then I would ask that they be admitted in the record.
I'm going alphabetically, so A, B, C. Yeah, fine.
Okay.
For the Zoom, people on Zoom, can you guys just go back to that? A little text that we can't see it.
So if we can go back to the purpose of a variance and the need for a variance, can you maybe make a stronger argument for what the hardship is and specifically why the hardship is not self-imposed?
Oh, because,
You bought the dogs. The
Well-
dogs are temporary and the fence is permanent.
Well, the hardship isn't necessarily the dogs. The hardship is that she wants to extend the fence into what is historically the back of the property. That's the back of her property. That's where her pool is. That's where her deck is. That is the back of her property. It has only become the front of the property based off of somebody else's development, which is not a hardship imposed upon by us or created by us. It's a hardship imposed upon by an outside force.
But it is the front of the property. It's the front of her property.
And that's why it
Nobody can
requires a
see it.
variance.
Oh, I can
And that's
see
why
it.
she's
You
here.
can see it.
It's visible,
There's no-
especially in the
And
winter.
and again, I
Right,
think
we
the
get it
pictures
because-
show that it's not visible.
It is. It is.
And the argument last time was specifically the hardship.
Exactly.
We were told last time.
Well, that's the reason for it. That wasn't the hardship that allows for the variance.
The hardship that you
Well,
said
what is
last
the
time
hardship
was
Point.
a dog off leash in the neighborhood. That was concerning.
Would you like to address that?
I don't know. I had 3 different people talking at me, so.
Well, what is the hardship?
The hardship is that this is the historical back of the house. And that this is where the rest of the back of the house type of stuff is. And she wants to extend it into the back, her backyard, but because of outside actions, the development of a piece of property by somebody other than herself or the prior owner of the property, that has created this to be the front of the property. So that is what is the hardship. And it's a de minimis request.
And that's the reason why a variance is even required in the first
And
place.
you walk
because Any
around.
front fence needs a variance no matter where it is on the property. So the argument is,
Well,
if she
I'll-
was putting this fence behind the existing house, which is now the back, used to be the front,
No problem.
there's
That
nothing
wouldn't be a problem
to
for us
stop
either.
this. So that's the
And
argument.
put
That's
the
the
fence
reason.
back there, and I don't think any of us would have an issue with that.
So that would be closer to your house.
It's not. It's the side of her house faces our townhomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, neither one of them would be closer. It's on the opposite side of the building from it.
What does the township view as the front of the house, right? I mean, that's why we're here.
Well, the township's definition references what is, any yard that fronts a public street is considered a front yard.
Understood.
And that's the reason why we're considering this portion of the property, the front yard.
Would this also be considered the front of the house?
It would follow the arc of the cul-de-sac and the profile of the street itself.
But yes, even if it were on the other side, it would still require a variance. variance, I guess.
Are we able to ask?
Yeah, please. So you're able to cross-examine the.
No, she did not. Prior to that.
I would rather him ask the question on record.
Did you own the house prior to the townhomes being developed or after?
Did you own that? You're at BS. Did you own the townhouse, the home prior to the townhomes being built? Or did you purchase it after?
No, I purchased the townhome in 2008. And then I purchased, I'm sorry, 2007. And I purchased the home while I was getting separation from my ex in a townhome, which they own today. And then I bought this property in 2009. And then when I bought the property in 2009, on the left of your diagram, on the left of it, it used to be the front. Because I had 2 double door, the horses used to go there back and forth with the wood of the fireplace. So I did 5 years of restoration in that. And then I put my pool deck on the right of the home, which the only thing that the townhome sees, because there's so many trees, is my double deck, which I was forced in 2009 to spend $8,500 to plant trees that are now taller than ever, because he walked through the property today. Absolutely no way, as the gentleman here, the older gentleman said, I have no idea where this fence is going to be because they cannot see it. My lawyer will not lie to you. He walked the property today and he was not able to see the fence. From the front street of Tanglewood Lane is 290 steps. It's like a football field. You cannot see it. And then when you walk around, which is now lately their own private driveway, is full of trees. You cannot absolutely see what I have there. You cannot see the pool. You cannot see the outdoor kitchen. All you see is white.
But to
It's
clarify.
white.
If I
Sorry, my accent.
Yeah.
But
Let's
I'm not
make
gonna
this
know
one
it.
D, we're now on. This is a view of where the fence is going to be, and the picture is taken towards the townhouses. Can't see anything.
Okay, right now you can't, but when the foliage drops, you can see everything. I have a
There
picture, an
is
example
a
of that.
line
window.
So, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah.
I can't have it.
I
No, that's
apologize.
not good. It's fine.
There is a line of arborvitaes that are, I don't know, I'm gonna say probably about 10 feet tall. Didn't measure when I looked at them today. But my experience says they're about 10 feet tall, and that line of arborvitaes goes along the property line right here. Right here, between the house and the townhomes. So even when the foliage drops, townhomes aren't going to be able to see this.
Unfortunately, we can see it. And I'm still confused about the hardship. What is the hardship?
So the
Besides
townhomes
the
were there
dogs.
already. I'm sorry, the townhomes were there already when she purchased the property. So the townhome development did not create her hardship.
I didn't say it was the townhome development. I said it was the development of Tanglewood Drive or Tanglewood Lane.
It was there when she bought the house.
Matter, it's still an existing hardship that was not created by her.
You said earlier that it was created by the community being built behind the house, so I'm just referencing that.
And why do you want this? This is my last one. Why do you want this fence where it is? Exactly. Why here and not somewhere else on the property?
An extension of an existing fence.
And I don't want it to be at the front of the house. I want to be, which I consider the back of
Still
the
use
pool.
the old front as the
Yes,
front
yes.
of your home?
Because
So,
that's where the driveway comes up. You see the property, that's where like the driveway, and then there's a walkway from the driveway into the front of the house. And if you don't have a picture of the actual front of the house, but if you look at the front of the house, the historical front of the house, it looks like the front of the house. It doesn't look like the back of the house.
Do you have any further comments before we close the record and open it up to public comment?
I do.
No.
No, oh,
Okay. So I'm just going to kind of go down the line with the party protestants and as concisely as possible, state your objection to the fence specifically. And we know the context and we know the background of her as a neighbor. But just if you would concisely, please state your principal objection to this fence. Sir.
You can see it in the wintertime. It's not covered up by trees or bushes or anything like that.
Okay, ma'am.
That is the same thing that I was going to mention. So in understanding the time frame to build it is helpful. I'm still not confident what the finished product is going to look like. And my concern is that we won't be able to see it, both
Okay.
from Tanglewood, and from our driveway.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay. Do you have any closing comments? Okay, so with that said, do we have any public comment? These are not party protestants. You don't have legal standing. These are other neighbors who wish to address the board and try to influence our decision. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with record Z 2021-19 with the stipulation that it matches the existing fence. It's done in a reasonable amount of time. They're saying a day, so we'll put that in the record. It'll take a day. And that it does conform with the existing fence that's there and what they describe the fence will be.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, so next up, we're going to move to case Z 2021-10, George Spader, Rhodes Avenue, Newtown Square, Limited Partners, 3599 Westchester Pike in Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property. The owner is seeking a variance approval to allow signs in excess of the provisions of sections 172-173A, 1 and 2, and B. The applicant also requests relief from many other sections of the zoning ordinance that may be realized during the zoning hearing process. Subject premise is located in the R1 zoning district. Is Mr. Spader here?
It's Jerry Canavan. I'm here for Rite Aid.
Okay,
I work for the sign company that's been involved in their rebranding
sure.
program.
So if you wouldn't mind, just state your name, who you are, which firm you're from, business address, and we'll swear you in.
Yeah, name is Jerry Canavan with C-A-N-A-V as in Victor A-N. I work at SEMA Network. That's C-I-M as in Mary A Network. And anything else?
You swear that this one.
J-E-R-R-Y, right? Either one works.
All right, so why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, okay. First off, I hope it's a correction. They're in a C1 zone, not an R1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wondering about that.
Just
Yeah.
check. I mean, it's, Westchester and Newcastle Road. They were just C1 district, and what I was gonna do is, well, basically the C1 allows, as I read the code, the allowance is 2 square foot per linear foot of each frontage, but it caps at 25 square foot for each frontage. And we're seeking relief from that section of the code. I was gonna run through the page or each elevation. And I'm counting 3 elevations. The building is unique in that it has the radius entrance on it. I don't know whether to split the one sign that's on there onto the St. Albans elevation and the Westchester Pike elevation. We could do it either way, but I'm kind of treating it as a separate elevation for the time. But going to what we're labeling as the first elevation, which is of course the St. Albans elevation, we're proposing to replace the 3 existing signs with 2 signs. The 2 signs are shown in the proposed view. With the total square footage of what we're proposing is 51 square foot. Again, we have 25 square foot is allowed, so we're seeking a relief of 26 square foot.
I'm trying to follow along with you here. Are you on it? What page are you on?
Yeah, it's the first elevation. I'm sorry.
Right here, does that line up with what you're?
Yeah, you know what, let me start
Can
with
you
that.
talk us through that?
Yeah.
Okay, because they look the same.
I was kind of skipping because we're not seeking relief for that.
Okay.
It's an existing sign, obviously, where it's, nothing's gonna change on it other than the new copy. New faces will be both, will replace the old faces, both for the Rite Aid and then the pharmacy is a separate cabinet and a separate face. That sign conforms to the code as it applies to a shopping center. Somewhere in the past, Rite Aid had received approval to have that sign. You know, and again, it conforms to the only code that I see for a freestanding ground sign, which is a shopping center, which allows 75 square foot, where we have 56, rounded up 56 square foot. The maximum height is 20 square foot by code. We have 20 square foot.
So how, okay, so I read in your application that it's fewer square feet, but taller.
No, it's the exact same square
Okay.
foot. No.
So how is it going to be different? than
It's
the-
not. That's why I skipped
So
over.
it's
We're really not seeking relief
an
for
existing
that
non.
sign.
This isn't what they're.
If I may,
Sure.
I think what our code requires that when you change your signs, you comply with the current ordinance.
Sure.
Our current ordinance allows a maximum of 50 square feet total
Right.
signage on the property. And also, our current code also speaks to freestanding signs of this nature, as shown on the screen now, as signs that are only permitted for shopping centers. So I would agree with the applicant that this is an existing sign, but it's not conforming. And because they're making changes to it, it technically has to conform to today's current code, which would not allow it on this particular property because this isn't within a defined shopping center.
Understood.
So as far as dimensional requirements,
Oh, okay.
the total sign area on this particular property is technically maxed out at 50 square feet. You'll hear the applicant's testimony, it's going to far exceed that.
Right.
But I believe you're going to also hear that they're reducing sign areas with this current package.
We are, and I had the current code as 75 square foot for the shopping center sign. Did that change? I'm going by the 172-123.
B, yes, 172, but that's for a shopping center.
No, yeah, I realize, but the maximum size is saying 75 square foot.
That would be correct if it were in a shopping center.
Gotcha, yeah,
That's correct.
Okay.
So because it's not in the shopping center, it's 50.
Yeah, but again, somewhere in the past, it was agreed that they could adhere to the shopping center code for that sign, otherwise it would be there without. being under violation.
So you're reducing the amount of square footage with the signs also with this, right, Andy?
It's not changing at all. It's, you know, the only thing that would change, you know, we pull out the plastic and put in new plastic. So we're updating. The only purpose is to update with the new brand on it. And to change, I think we're changing, yeah, the Ready Clinic is no longer in there. They're changed, their other side. Changing that panel to pharmacy.
I forgot to ask before we started. Are there any party protestants?
We just talked about this sign here? Is that the point in question?
No, it's, the entire site is going through a rebranding.
Yeah.
So if, Steve, could you go to the,
You just go through all the changes that are being made. and-
Yeah. And any other questions on the ground sign? Okay, moving along to. There's 2 existing directional signs there, which, again, they're previously approved. Current code allows for 2 square foot maximum. We have 4 square foot. We're asking for a relief of 2 square foot for each of them. The sign isn't actually being changed. The sign will stay exactly where it is. It's going to get painted, and a new fresh copy will go over the top part of the sign. So technically, we are asking for relief for those who also, you know, the 2 square foot for each sign. Any questions on the directionals? Okay, then moving to the first elevation, which is the St. Albans elevation. We're replacing the 3 existing signs that you see at the top. You can't see the pharmacy, it's right underneath the Rite Aid because it blends in too well with the brick. But we're replacing what's existing as 70.8 square foot with 51 square foot. So we're code allows 25 square foot. We're seeking a relief of 26 square foot for that elevation.
Is there any, is there any change to the lighting systems in it?
Is it?
Is there any change to the lighting systems behind it? Are the lumens going to remain the same?
Yes, I mean, it'll be LED lighting. They'll be equivalent. It's the same setup as what's out there now. What's out there now is LED, and yeah, they'll be the same. And both the drive-through cabinet and the Rite Aid sign are LED illuminated.
So would you state that there's no additional light pollution that's going to be a result from this?
No, it would not. They're the same amount of letters, same type of illumination. There wouldn't be. And in fact, for the drive-through sign, we're reducing from a bigger individual letter sign to that cabinet. So there would be it's minimal, but it would be less illumination.
Okay, I make a motion to approve application Z 2021-10 with the condition that there is no additional light pollution than is already existing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Next step will be to reapply.
You can figure that out.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah, we reapply for the, middle of this.
I don't necessarily remember when your original application
It was
was.
old, it was like over a year ago.
If it's over a year ago, yes.
Okay, good.
Please reapply and we'll get it out to you.
We'll put it in. Beautiful. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
Good night.
We're going to move to the next case, which is Z 2021-24. Thomas Kelly of 511 Summit Avenue, Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property. The owner is seeking a variance relief and special exception and approval to allow the erection of a fence within the front yard of the property considered a corner lot in accordance with sections 172-104A and E and the definitions for accessory building, structure, and corner lot. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the zoning ordinance that may be realized during the zoning hearing process. Subject premises is located in the R3 zoning district. Are you Mr. Kelly?
I am. I'm Thomas Kelly, 511 Summit Ave.
All right. Swear
Can I bring this forward? real quick?
Sure.
So, I know the zoning code 172-104A and E say the front yard, and I understand because I'm a corner property. It says corner lot, so I'm 3 lots property. The corner property of Summit and Walnut Street, 500. Range structures on there. It's my house and my garage. I was here in 2012 for a variance for my garage. Approved here. Pink outline where my fence is going. Now, because it runs along Walnut Street, but technically, on the odd side of Summit Avenue, 11 houses, only 2 of them face Summit Avenue. Example of mine, 511 and 601. Is it 311 Summit, 301 Summit, 311 Summit faces Main Street, 301 Summit faces back porch. Everything faces that back door. There's no structure on it. The township wants me to, if I can just show you.
Yeah.
So this is where the township proposes the fence be, because it's off the front of my house.
Okay.
I just want to come off my garage and go around, talking 23 feet, 35 feet. So 172-104E about fences, stone walls, and hedges talks about safety. So in the front of my property, and on Summit Avenue, looking up Walnut Street, triangular view of the intersection. There's nothing there. There never will be. Nothing's going on. Really just around the back. Neighbors on the back side of me were fine with it. Had it surveyed. I've had a couple new pins put in there. For approval.
You kind of recage me here. Why can't you conform with the township code? Because they're asking you to back it up from the right away. Is it a setback issue?
Well, technically, it would have to be set back out of the front yard.
Okay.
Which in this case would be 45 feet by our ordinance. Now, the interesting thing that you have here is you already have a structure which was approved by another zoning hearing board back in 2012, I believe. They kind of also extends into that what was the front yard. The other thing that is somewhat interesting is you have lots with continuous frontage under one ownership, and this particular lot in question is undeveloped. So by enclosing it with a fence, it will technically combine all 3 of those lots together. That is basically a reverse subdivision. The one comment that I did want to ask the board to consider when you're deliberating the case is to either stipulate that the fence, if you so choose to approve it, is not set in the right of way, or that in the event the township needs to use the right of way, I believe that the site plan shows that it's set back 10 feet from Walnut Street. At this time, I don't currently know what the right of way dimension is there. I believe it may be 13 feet. I don't know if the applicant would agree to keeping it out of the right of way, or if you choose to approve it, that you stipulate that if the township ever needs the right of way, that the fence would be removed by the applicant at that time, or relocated at that time.
You know, I just want to Even though there are 3 lots, I do pay separate taxes on each lot. 172-104A stipulates corner lot, no fences. This technically, even though it's corner property, altogether, I have 3 lots, and 1 is on the frontage side there. I'm okay if you want me, for that 10, 12 foot there, ever need to take it down?
Well, I don't think that the township would take it down. I think that
Oh,
that we would ask that they stipulate that it would be your responsibility.
In my opinion, fences are.
Is that garage in the right of way?
I don't know, you know, I don't,
By the township.
Right, but if
In
you,
2012.
yeah, I don't know.
I want to be very careful not to,
right,
especially in the Heights neighborhood particularly.
Mhm.
There've been a lot of zoning cases and a lot of people are referencing old zoning decisions to the chagrin of many residents of the Heights. All right, so I want to kind of make that, draw that line in the sand, like, okay,
Can I give you guys a couple more pictures?
sure, that'd be great. But just because they made a decision doesn't behold us to making a similar type decision.
So this first picture here is the lot. There's the 3 lots, and that green one is where the fence is going. So this is a view of where the garage sits. There's Summit Avenue.
I'm personally familiar with it. I run back there, but
Yeah. I know.
I know he doesn't run, so.
There's another view of it.
is this it?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the view. I'm
Right.
sorry. There's so standing on Walnut Street, this is where the fence is going to be. So it's 18 feet from the middle of Walnut Street to where the fence, where I want the fence to be. Want to be a gate on that side. There's a walkway on that side of the garage. Not going anywhere past the front of it.
What type of fence?
It's a 6-foot white privacy fence. Here's a picture of the backyard. Here's my porch. There's the garage. Here's where it would be. A really good angle, but here's where the township wants me to put it that far up. But here's the 174 172-104A. These 3 together are the safety view. But there needs to be a triangular view from Summit Avenue, looking up Walnut Street, up on that corner, so there's no hedges, stone walls. Fences blocking it. There won't be. That's my holly tree by the summit thing that's trimmed up so you can see.
He's talking about this.
So I have a question on the drawings here. I'm actually looking at it on Google Maps as well.
Yeah.
And I understand that the properties here and the garage is and this lot, it looks like a separate lot back here, but then next to you, there's another property, and I think you mentioned the one behind you is good with it.
This one here is 222 Walnut Street.
Yeah.
The Biddles, Chris and the Chief.
Yeah. And is it, my question is, do they have a driveway right there that would be impeded by the privacy fence?
No, so the driveway is up further, and it's a little small horseshoe driveway.
Okay.
And it's from where that fence is, I don't know, 50, 60 feet more.
There's a driveway leading out to Summit.
Mine.
No,
Pasture,
what's
pasture.
that? Is it Chestnut? I guess their frontage would be on Chestnut.
And so
Behind you to the, if this is north to the west of you, like back here.
that's Chestnut, would be Chestnut Street
Yeah.
down there. There's another
There's a
property.
driveway here.
That's 225 Chestnut Street.
Okay,
Okay, now my driveway, I have a driveway here as well.
Yeah.
At the lower
Correct,
part of my
yeah.
house, that's,
but I mean,
Does
like,
this fence here, I'm sorry.
is that, I mean, if that's up against my driveway and it's a 6-foot
it's not,
privacy fence,
no, it would probably be,
I would, so let me finish my
15,
comment.
25,
That would
I'm
be
sorry.
a concern for me, like up against my drive, I mean, how far away from that person's driveway is that?
yeah, there's literally a hedgerow that goes from all the way to Summit. Street there.
Yep.
It's blocking it.
All the way
And then
down?
there's stacked stone wall that goes all the way around. property. Not mine. But mine's going to be on this side of the stone. The fence is going to stop before you enter near visual part of. This driveway is about 25 feet.
So it would stop, I mean, is this to scale where the
Yes.
the
So
highlighter is?
I won't go past the front of the house. I'm saying, so it's 392 feet of fencing. You can see from my back porch that me and my three children, that's our backyard. I mean, that's. There's some, so that's the thing. This is our back porch.
Right.
That's really our back. I'm standing on the property line where the stake is here.
Is this cone lined up with the driveway or are you bumping it?
No.
You're not even it with the
Yeah,
garage?
I just put that out there from the other picture. I probably should have moved it so you could see it from
So
the
it
street.
is going to be,
But I'll put it straight with the garage, which
Okay.
I think is 12 foot, but. In any event, that was approved in 2012. And like I said, if the township is okay with that, and I have to move it.
Do we have any party protestants that'd like to cross-examine the applicant? Usually for the heights, there's a bunch of people.
Yeah,
Um,
as the mailman.
Put the pictures.
I have them labeled, yeah. I have A1 through.
six.
My last question, and I'm just trying to put myself there as the neighbor on, I guess, on the north side of this map is north.
On Walnut Street,
Yeah.
222 Walnut Street.
Okay. I mean, why, is this the minimum fence you need to put there?
Funny thing
6 foot, I mean,
about- The funny thing about privacy fences. Dogs. Now, if I was to put a post around fence, I'd have to put bushes around. Like privacy fence in Devonshire.
It's not enclosed though, right? Fence line doesn't create a,
Well, what's not shown there is a curvature of the lower driveway. It'll kind of attach to, kind of closes lower part of the green first structure. Driveway there.
intended for privacy though, not for keep your dogs in.
No, not right now.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve application Z 2021-24 with the exceptions of the on the fence against Walnut, it either is not in the right of way, or if it is, not to extend past the existing garage. And if it does line up with the existing garage and happens to be in the right of way, the applicant agrees to remove the fence if the township deems it necessary.
Before we move to a second, do we have any public comment? No? All right.
Can I ask you, Andy, can I ask you one more question? Like, I still am confused about, you are putting a fence up. What is the exact distance off? You know, I mean, is there?
Well, I mean, our ordinance doesn't allow them in the front yards. That's why technically you're here, and you usually have a right of way in a front yard, you know, adjacent to any street.
What I'm getting at is, so this does get approved, what would the distance? I mean, could I say 4 foot?
Well, I mean, I think the condition.
The condition is that
Lined up
it
with
doesn't
the-
fall in the township's right of way.
Gotcha.
The right of way is something that I can provide you. I just don't have it handy
There is a
this
number.
evening. Yeah, there's,
For
the
right.
township has a road map, for lack of a better term, that gives the cartway dimension and the overall right-of-way dimension, and I can provide you that actual right-of-way dimension from the curb line, along with the curb.
I'm really just searching for variance approval to go right off the people with the
That's why.
Yep, yeah, the condition, the furthest it can go towards the street is equal to the garage. If that happens to be within the right of way, then you would agree to
Take it
remove
down.
if necessary.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. We're gonna take Z 2021-25. Walter and Sharon Blake. And then we're gonna do a 5-minute break.
13 feet also.
So, Tom, you want these?
I'm trying to figure out.
Generator buzzes.
All right, so we have KZ 2021-25, Walter and Sharon Blake, 3731 Listener Gardens in Newtown Square pertaining to the subject property. The owner is seeking a variance approval from the front yard setback requirements of the R1 zoning district. Section 172-31, Bravo 1, as modified by the cluster development ordinance. Property is located within the R1 zoning district. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the ordinance that may be realized during the hearing process. Are you Walter and Sharon Blake? All right, so do you want to state your names, your address, and swear you in?
Walter Blake, Sharon Blake, 3731 Listener Gardens, Newtown Square, 19073.
You both swear the testimony you give.
Yes.
All right, just tell us why you're here and
Okay, we're in the Listener neighborhood off 252. We've been here 6+ years. We've lost power several times. Longest was close to 3 days, I forget, years ago. So we decided to get a whole house generator. Got approval from the HOA. Contractor delivered the generator and to get a permit. When we learned that it's a town set position that the side yard is front yard because of a corner property. That's why we're here today.
okay. Are there any party protestants here?
We're
No.
for letters of support from neighbors in our package.
Okay, are they, I'm trying to pull up your record now. They're in there. Have you gone before your HOA?
Yes.
Okay, and what's their, do they have anything either for or against?
As I say again, we went to the HOA and got approval. Contractor delivered the generator to our house. It's not been installed. Contractor applied for a permit through the township. And then I was informed about this whole notion of a site front.
Okay,
Did the HOA give you any requirements in terms of covering up the unit once it's installed and?
There's a bush that doesn't totally obscure it, but they were satisfied with that.
Okay.
Oh, this picture here is, it's setting where it will eventually go. This picture we're looking at is where it will eventually go. The contractor delivered it to the location, you're saying?
Yes, it just needs to be installed.
okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve application Z 2021-25 for the variance approval for the front yard setback with the condition that it meets the AOA expectations, if there are any documented.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a piece of paper.
I'll get your permit out to you folks very, in the next day or so.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
You guys want to keep moving or you need 5?
You need a break? If you need a break, we're good. Sure.
All right, so next up we have case Z 2021-26. Asadur and Arpy Minasian.
This is Arpy Minasian. Pleasure.
Okay, thank you. 3411 Lewis Road in Newtown Square pertaining to the subject property. The owner is seeking a special exception approval to allow new construction to extend along the existing non-conforming side yard setback as required by sections 172-33 Bravo, subparagraph 6, and 172-141F. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the zoning ordinance may be realized during the zoning hearing process. Subject premise is located in the R2 zoning district. So if you would, please state your names again and your address.
Asadur and Arpy Minasian. 3411 Lewis Road, in Newtown Square. Yes.
And is that counsel with you or are you?
No,
Oh, no.
he's the contractor.
Got it. Okay. You just want to identify yourself real quick and
Steve Mantakunis. Mantakunis. MANTAKOUNIS.
You swear to testimony you give the truth, nothing but the truth.
thanks. All right, so why don't you guys go ahead?
So we just wanted to, we had to work on our carport because it's been there for a long time. We've lived in the area, we've lived in that house for over 22 years now. And the carport was there when we bought the house and we've noticed that it's dilapidated a little bit, like we need to fix it. In the meantime, I lost my father in January to COVID and they live 4 houses away from us. And my father died of COVID in January and my mom is suffering from dementia. So we thought it would be a great opportunity. She's 4 houses away. Instead of having to go back and forth and be in the house alone, we'll just take this opportunity. We thought we would just expand and make a bedroom above there for her. So that's how we started this whole process. We went from a carport needing work to moving my mother in.
Unfortunately.
And we live and we work in the neighborhood and we don't really want to move. That's the God's honest truth.
If I may, I mean, essentially what we're here for is an expansion of that non-conforming side yard setback. We've dealt with a lot of cases like this recently.
Is there a
Thankfully,
variance
it's not
for
a
the?
fence.
Is there a variance for the existing?
I said, thankfully, it's not a fence.
You know if there's a variance for the existing structure? Was there a variance for the existing structure?
Not that I'm aware of.
There
Are you aware?
there was, I mean, again, it was done before we moved in. I know that the plans were on file with the township. There's, I believe, I submitted it in the electronic file, the original plans that were done in 86, I think it was. But it was submitted to the township, and back then, I know the previous owners were the Walishes and their neighbors, and they were brought to the township. They basically did the same exact thing we're doing today, and it was approved. Again, that's what they told us. There is no documentation of it, but I know just based on the plans being submitted and being there, just, yeah, so.
I'm sure that it's an existing lawful non-conforming.
Appreciate you providing the pictures.
Sure.
Yeah.
The story.
Makes it easier.
So today, where the carport extends to out to that the wall that it sits on, does the proposed addition go to that same length of the property and you know will it be the same distance from your property line?
It'll be the same. Yes, it'll be the same. It's not going to go any further out.
Is that neighbor here? Or have you talked to that neighbor? On the
Side neighbor?
carport side?
Well, there's a letter from him and his
Okay.
wife saying
They're all for it.
they're all okay with it.
I have a neighbor that's encroaching on me too, and I'm not in favor of that.
Actually, you can see their property from the
Yeah.
pictures. You should be able to see it from the way we took
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
We're actually very amicable. We don't want a fence between us either. We love having kids jumping back and forth to each other.
Okay.
They're actually younger, or older than when we moved in.
Does the township see any other issues? Besides the setback, the side yard setback?
No, I mean, there are other building code requirements that we're
Or, I
working
mean,
through under the
granted,
permit, but
yeah.
as far as this hearing tonight, it's really just the side yard setback.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve application Z 2021-26 for a side yard setback.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Get a refund from your contractor for the time.
Yeah, I think I am. I mean, I have to go through the.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we did the permit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it should be okay.
Have you satisfied stormwater?
That's, you're waiting for this first.
All right, so next,
Once that comes through, then I'll be able to approve permits.
Yeah, that's not a problem. All right, thank you.
so next up, we have Z 2021-27, Claude Baton, 4615 and 4617, Westchester Pike in Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property. The owner is filing a validity challenge in regard to an adult daycare use that is not otherwise recognized by the Newtown Township zoning code. In the alternative, the owner is seeking a traditional use variance to permit an adult daycare use in the I light industrial zoning district. So I understand we have counsel, and are you the applicant, ma'am?
Yes, my name's Cindy Clark.
Okay.
No E. CINDI, yes.
And sir?
Yes, sir. May it please the board, my name is Mark D'Amico. I'm an attorney with an office at 109 Chesley Drive, Media, PA 19063. Here tonight representing Claude Baton, trading as Joy Ford joint venture, the owner of the Newtown Business Center on Westchester Pike. Property consists of 12.6 acres and has a series of buildings on it as shown on Exhibit 3 in the package that I presented to you. Property is zoned light industrial and has public water and private sanitary sewer service, with public sewer being imminent. LI permits a variety of uses. There's a great diversity of present tenants, which we've listed on Exhibit 5. The deed for standing purposes was submitted with the application, and I submitted a copy to your solicitor, marked that as Exhibit 1. The owner of the property would like to lease 4,017 square feet in the center of the Newtown Business Center with an address of 4615 and 4617 to children and adult disability and educational services, or CADES, is a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation for adult daycare. I've also submitted a copy of the lease with the application and a copy to Mr. Auslander, which I've marked as Exhibit 2. Adult daycare is not a permitted use in light industrial, nor is it permitted in any other zoning district in township. So under the circumstances, a little different than a normal application. Section 909A1 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code permits the landowner to file an appeal designated as a validity challenge to essentially ask that the use be permitted because it's not permitted elsewhere, and titled under the case law to site-specific relief, as long as we meet basically criteria to show that the use would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. The alternative, we are asking for a use variance, but the way this works, it basically makes everybody's job easier, because if you recognize that it's not a permitted use in the township,
then we don't have to meet the strict variance criteria. We just have to show that it's essentially a reasonable use for the property. We will present, our intention is to present Vince Barbieri, who works for the owner, he's the landlord representative, and then Cindy Clark, who is the COO of Cade's, to go into details about the operation. Please, the board, I'll have Mr. Barbieri testify first.
Thank you.
Chairman, just for the record, I did receive a letter from Mr. D'Amico, Joseph D'Amico, from the same firm as Mark, and he had indicated the nature of the application this evening, and he also indicated that he would be requesting, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, a stipulation from the board to suggest that our code is silent with regard to adult daycare, who have provisions for child daycare, none with respect to adult daycare. I've reviewed the code. I defer to Andy as well, but I was unable to find any reference to the subject matter of tonight's hearing. If council is inclined to request a stipulation with regard to the absence of that provision, I would suggest to the board that they actively consider that. I make this part of the record.
Okay. Sir, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, Vincent Barbieri, 420 Prospect Road, Springfield, Pennsylvania, 19064. Barbieri.
You swear the testimony you give me the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
And Barbieri, what is your position with the Dupaton organization?
I do leasing.
Okay, and how long have you been in charge of leasing for the Newtown Business Center?
Since 1994.
And you've been authorized to appear tonight before the zoning hearing board for the owner?
Yes.
All right, and I've showed you exhibit A1, which I've handed to Mr. Auslander, and we submitted with the application that's a deed for the property. All right, and you have also provided me, and we've marked this exhibit A2, a copy of the lease with Cade's.
Yes.
All right, turning your attention then to exhibit A3, that is, 1 second here, sorry.
The area.
All right.
Mhm.
You identify exhibit A3, which is in everyone's packet.
That is an aerial of the Newtown Business Center.
Ready? And so then exhibit A4 is zoomed in, so maybe if you could try to describe to the members of the board where the subject proposed
Sure.
lease space is in relation to the business center.
Absolutely. It is in what we call Center 3 in the Newtown Business Center, 4615 and 4617. If you're coming in just past the Veterans Memorial and you make that left-hand turn, it's right there immediately on your right-hand side.
Okay. And that's a lower level space. Correct?
Yes, two low, I'm sorry, I thought you were making a statement. Two lower level spaces, that's correct.
All right. And you marked as exhibit A5, is that a list of the various uses?
That is a list of the various uses, that is correct.
All right. And so it's fair to say there's a mix of all sorts of different uses in the business center?
Yes, I mean, we have accountants, physical therapy, 2 dentists, a magazine, an esthetician, a local union, name a few.
And in Center 6, you actually have the Malvern School, which is
We do.
a daycare center.
Yes, we do.
All right. All right. Ms. Clark's going to testify in a minute here that Cade's has approximately 12 employees and 2 other sort of roving employees that would periodically be there, as well as 2 vans. And although there is public transportation, it's possible that Cade's may require as many as 16 parking spots at any one time. What is your opinion as to the adequacy of the parking for that number of parking spaces that might be required at most at any one time by Cade's?
there's plenty of parking. And in fact, your father asked me, Joe D'Amico, asked me this week to go out and just to confirm for you guys what we were going to have. We have 44 adjacent, what I would call adjacent parking spaces. And on the average day, we hit 18 to 19 at 9 in the morning and at 3 in the afternoon, which would be more than enough. And then there's 13, what I would call ancillary parking spaces that are reasonably close to the front door.
And the last tenant that was in this space,
Sorry.
how was their parking?
Well, their
demand?
parking demand was a lot higher. They were a dance studio that would have between 20 and 30 students almost every day and evening classes. And most of those were young enough. In fact, I think all of them were young enough that they were getting driven by parents.
And
It would have been about double what the requirement would be for this particular use.
and when they were there, did you ever experience
We did
a
not.
parking problem?
We did not.
Thank you, Mr. Barbieri. That's all the questions I have for this witness.
You guys have any questions for him?
I did. Any special parking access requirements, I guess, given the nature of the use? Or is it?
I think
Ms.
that's
Clark
coming.
testified
Okay.
to how the individuals are picked up and dropped off.
Sorry, thanks.
It's okay.
Can I just ask, what are the tenants immediately adjacent to the proposed application?
On the exhibit that you have, it would be, and Center 3, IBEW, Center 2, KP Aesthetics, and then Charming Star would be the tenants that would have the most impact. And then Dr. Lavala would be another tenant.
Is there any additional volume by way of traffic by virtue of the tenancy of those other joining?
Well, there's nothing they've been tenants of ours for many years. So to answer the question, no, I mean, what I gave you guys was actual Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday parking numbers for that particular location in an area that was what I would call adjacent to each of the different locations. And I took the liberty to go out to 17 Campus Boulevard and just step it off. And I would say only the visitors parking is closer than the stuff that we have at 17 Campus Boulevard from front door to the closest parking spaces, just to give you an example. And then that's just me going out. I mean, it's not scientific or anything.
A traffic study?
Not quite.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What names are IBEW, did you say?
IBEW.
IBEW.
Yes, sir.
And who was the doctor?
The doctor's Dr. Lavala, Lavalla. You're welcome.
He parks his Jeep over there. The subject property, I'm just saying.
He does.
I know he does.
Great. Ms. Clark testified? All right. Ms. Clark, by whom are you employed?
So I'm employed by CADES, which is Children and Adult Disability and Educational Services.
What is CADES?
So CADES is, we used to be known as United Cerebral Palsy, which is a reference that most people understand. We're a human service nonprofit organization which serves individuals throughout the lifespan with disabilities.
How long have you been with CADES?
I've been with CADES for 35 years. Yes, correct. Mhm.
So showing you what's been marked as Exhibit A7, and that's in everybody's package. Would you identify Exhibit A7?
Yeah, this is our certificate of compliance, how we get licensed annually through the state.
What state agency grants licenses for adult daycare programs?
Department of Human Services. Department of Human Services. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Is CADES also associated with the Delaware County Office of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities?
Yes, it is.
What is that relationship?
That is the office where we receive our referrals from. They're also the local office that does our annual audits.
And have they been involved in the selection of the site?
So anytime an organization such as ourselves chooses a new site, they would come out and do an initial inspection, seeing if they feel like it would be safe, it's in a good location, so forth. So they did do their preliminary look at the location and gave us approval for where it's currently located.
And how long has the adult daycare program been in existence?
So with CADES, this is, we've been 44 years serving adults with disabilities in this program.
And do you have any other locations in Delaware County?
So our primary location is in Swarthmore.
And could you give the board a brief explanation of what exactly is adult daycare?
So we provide training services to adults with disabilities. I don't really like to seem prejudiced in terms of explaining, but we serve people across the spectrum. So some people with very severe disabilities, and these individuals are ones that learn life skills. So we would teach them skills like money management, how to cook for themselves, how to do laundry, how to plan a meal, to schedule activities that they might want to do throughout the week. So those are the kinds of things that we're working on with individuals that would come to a site such as the one we're looking at for Newtown Square.
And how was this location selected?
So we looked at a few things for this location. One of the things was the safety of the location, which we felt that this was an ideal place for individuals that we serve. We also looked geographically at the demographics of who we serve. So we wanted to kind of, Swarthmore is nicely centrally located in Delaware County, but we wanted to cover a broad spectrum of the individuals that we serve. So Newtown Square was nice for those that were in this region. We also looked to see if there was a nice access to public transportation, not only for employees that might come work for us, but also for us to teach our individuals how to access public transportation. And then the other appeal to this area was that we can teach them to access some of the stores, some of the activities and things that are very local to where that site is located.
Okay, thank you. And has this premises been licensed, and if not, what is the process for getting this license?
So we're not yet licensed. We're approved for this location. Once we go through this process and all of our architect comes in, we do the upgrades and all of the things that we need to do in interior before we can open. The local Department of Human Services, ODP, would come out and do an inspection and then license us.
So you mentioned you hired an architect, and you also, I think, mentioned that you engaged a civil engineer to make sure that the delivery of the individuals in the vans would be appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's worked with us for several years with our other sites, so he's very familiar with our regulations and requirements for individuals with disabilities.
Can you just take a moment to explain how the individuals are brought to the site, how they're dropped off, brought into the premises, and then
Yeah, about 75% of our adults with disabilities access CCT, which is CCT, which is SEPTA's fleet that goes door to door for individuals with disabilities. They transport approximately 5 people per van. So you might have like 3 wheelchairs and 2 ambulatory individuals. And they go around in different locations and will pick up and then drop off to us. And then at the end of the day, do the same thing, pick up and take home. The other 25% might be brought by family members to the site.
okay. And you just describe how you intend these specifically at this location. Does the van pull up to the front door? Is there room for more than one van?
Yeah. So actually the industrial park itself offers a really nice, like Vincent said, we kind of did a run through. I grabbed the van from one of our sites and it makes a nice loop around the buildings where you can line them up. And we will offload people as soon as they get there. So with 25 people, I imagine that there would be, and it's a guesstimate because it's always the complement of who comes, but technically, there'd probably be about 8 vans, between 6 and 8, that would come for 25 people. So they would line up, and 2 at a time could go parallel to the building, drop the lift. So they would offload individuals on their wheelchairs. They would come right into the building, and then they could continue off around the loop there and leave.
Okay. And you mentioned 25. that's 25 individuals. Is that the maximum number of people that would be you'd be serving at this location?
Per our current regulations, we cannot have more than 25 individuals at any one site. So that would be the max number that we could have at that site. Yes.
And how many CADES personnel would be at the facility to work with them?
So we would have approximately 12 staff working there. And like he had said, our administrative staff would go between that site and other ones. So 2 other administrative staff would probably be on site at any given time.
And where are the adult daycare individuals? Where are they coming from? What kind of geographic area?
So like I said, we really want to kind of focus on our individuals that live in like Broomall, Newtown Square, and this catchment area primarily.
You mentioned the public transportation, but you also have 2 vans that you use during the day for your program?
Yeah, so throughout the day, like I said, they would be taking trips, doing different things. So not everyone stays like right in the center all day long. We keep people pretty active. So no more than groups of 3 at a time might go out and do different things throughout the day with staff members. In a 1-to-1 situation at the max, there'd be 1 staff per every 3 individuals. You know, they might go to the grocery store, they might go to a restaurant, they might go to an exercise activity or something like that throughout the day.
Would you describe the security measures that will be in place at this location?
So we would have 24-hour electronic surveillance through our that we alarm the buildings with. We use the key fobs for all of our staff that come in. We created in our diagrams a vestibule for people to enter so that we can do screening of our staff and anyone that might get access into the building, not only for ensuring that people that come in are free from fevers or anything that might have to do with COVID, but also for safety, allowing people into the building that way.
And what are the days and hours of operation?
We operate our staff obviously come in a little bit earlier and leave a little bit later, but our hours of operation are 8:30 to 3:30, Monday through Friday, excluding major holidays.
And are you satisfied that the parking is adequate for the program?
Yeah, I've been there 3 or 4 times and it's always seemed like there's ample parking in that area.
And have the adult daycare facilities in Swarthmore at any time caused any problems with the neighbors or the community?
No, we've been highly engaged with Swarthmore. We've been there for many years. We do their fun fairs. We've been involved with the college, pretty active with the community of Swarthmore.
So being familiar with the proposed daycare operation and all of your testimony, do you have any feelings as to whether the proposed use here at the Newtown Business Center would have any adverse effect on the health, safety, or welfare of the residents of this township?
Absolutely not. I think if anything, it would be a positive asset.
Right. And I guess one final question, what's your time if the board was to grant this relief? What's your timeline for getting the location open?
We would have to do construction and renovations to make it ADA compliant, but we're hoping November or December to be starting out.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the questions I have for this witness.
You guys have any questions? Can you just confirm that the zoning code is silent on
I would
on
agree
adult
with Mr.
daycare?
Oslander that yes, it is silent on adult daycare.
Okay. All right. That being said, I make a motion to approve application Z 2021-27 with the stipulation that the current zoning code is silent on adult daycare uses. Do we have a second?
Second.
Can I just make one request? Because there is a building code requirement to this, I believe that the applicants referenced the fact that they've engaged an architect. I would just ask that all building code requirements and building permit requirements also be followed as part of this approval.
Yes. So I will state that as a stipulation, although I would hope that it's inherent with the approval. But with the additional stipulation that you follow all building.
If I could, I'd add one more. And
Yes.
obviously, there's licensure from the state,
Yes.
that they be compliant with state licensing through the Department of Public Welfare. The other licensing that applicable to.
Those conditions are perfectly acceptable.
Roger. Okay. So we had a second.
All seconded, I
You second.
favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for what you do. Because that's
Thank you.
awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I agree.
guys.
Like, seriously.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll squeeze down if we have to. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mark, thanks. Mark, thanks.
That sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Are you Jennifer? Come on up.
Yes.
Lone soldier.
Evening, gentlemen.
Thank you for waiting as long as you have. We tried to move it along. So here we go. So let's open up case Z 2021-28. Jennifer Holston Mataloni and Andrew Mataloni of 636 Golf Club Road, Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property. The applicant is seeking special exception approval to allow an expansion of a new two-story garage structure with the non-conforming side yard setback as required by section 172-29B, subparagraph 6, and section 172-141F. Applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the ordinance that may be realized during the hearing process. So, ma'am, do you want to just state your name, introduce yourself, and be sworn in?
Jennifer Mataloni, and I live at 636 Golf Club Road. I do. Good evening, gentlemen. We have a house on Golf Club Road, and I don't know if you remember, but back in June of 2020, there was a derecho that came through the township, and our home was one of the ones that significantly damaged. In fact, pretty much the entire left side of the house in the rear was completely destroyed. We have been dealing with the insurance company ever since, and it's been made abundantly clear that they're going to come nowhere near what needs to be done in order to bring the building to the state that it was prior to this storm. And as a result, we're going to be spending a lot of our own money in order to get it to that point. And for that reason, since we will be doing that, we want to make sure that we're going to increase the value of our home and the functionality in the process. And that effect, we want to build what is essentially a two-car garage on the home, the room above it, which will provide a location for our children to go. We don't have a finished basement. We don't have a basement that would be capable of being finished. And this new structure will essentially be placed on our existing driveway. The home was originally built in the 1950s, and the prior owners did do an addition. I believe it was in 1995. So as the house stands now, the portion which is the furthest to the left of the property is 10.3 feet. The new structure, the closest portion that will be to the left side will be approximately a little over 15 feet. So we're not going any further to the left. And in fact, when this is built, there's a portion of our driveway that we will be removing. So that will actually cause our driveway to be further away from our neighbors. I did speak to our neighbors to the right, Sharon Blake, and also to Jeannie Wolfington, who is our neighbor to the immediate left. They both confirmed that they received notice from the township about the hearing, also saw the sign that was posted out front, and neither of them have any objections. Sharon, it's Merhige. And Jeannie, Jeanie, Wolfington.
Digital page Yes. You have plans drawn up?
Yes, I'm trying to see what you may have up.
It's just an aerial.
That's just like an aerial.
The actual building plans, is that?
Yeah. So you have like, if I'm looking at your house, you have the garage with the second story, and then you sort of have like a little mini one-story thing.
Yes.
Are you building on top of that? Is that what
No,
you're trying?
No, that will still be the portion that is the furthest to the left of the property.
Okay. So you're not. I understand.
You're building
I
in
can,
front
if
of
you pull
that.
back up, I can.
Yeah.
You're building in front of your garage.
Yeah.
This is our existing driveway. It goes from here all the way to here and down. Right here, we're 10 feet. I think our driveway, it doesn't say on here, but it's about maybe 5 feet or so from our neighbor's property line. When we do the new construction, it's going to basically be built right on top of the existing. Then we're going to get rid of this over here.
Is that going to be a garage, and then you convert the existing garage into a living space?
Yeah, so.
Okay, because I think that's just generally what, yeah.
We have a picture
That's a
here.
picture of the house. Yeah.
Yeah, the storm basically took out everything. All that.
Wow.
It's a two-story
It's
addition.
both, yeah. And the second story is not going to be quite as high as the existing.
There'll be living space above.
It's
Thank you.
There any impervious, did you already get or apply for a permit?
We applied, we're still working on.
Okay, but are there any impervious surface or drainage issues?
Well, as part of the building permit process, the applicant's working through their soil and erosion that will handle all the stormwater management issues. Pending that, I don't see any other issues that would prevent us from issuing the permit once that's all satisfied.
Okay, what is it in R1, like 30%?
I'm sorry?
Is it like 30%? Like,
Well,
we're not
there's a
gonna-
couple
not going to
different-
exceed that?
Yeah, I mean, under our zoning code, there's a maximum impervious coverage that is not in play here. However, our stormwater ordinance requires anytime new impervious coverage is either installed or existing impervious coverage is altered, and it's more than 500 square feet, that a soil and erosion application be filed. And all lots.
So they're going to have to do that anyway.
Yeah, so that's in the process, but separate of this application.
And the neighbor to the left, who this would impact the most is.
It's fine. In fact, one of my neighbors told me that they're all at the point where they're going to start a collection. Move this a little bit further. And I thought it was a joke, and my husband's telling me it's not. So.
Good.
You have the plans in front of you. I mean, are they any questions or issues with that?
It's an attached, right? That was the only thing.
Yeah, so there's no breezeway separating. It's all
No.
one.
It's absolutely attached. It actually, there's a door for my daughter's bedroom to go right into it.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021-28. Any two applicants seeking approval to allow expansion of a new two-story garage structure.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck. Thank you for your patience. Right. That was a long night. Do we have any public comment or additional business before we adjourn the meeting? think we're good. Meeting is adjourned.
Compared to last month.
Let's not-